And good evening. It's 7 p.m. here, Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to the 67th episode of The Ghosts of Bacon. I'm your host, Jake Roberts. 67, of course, being the simple cipher value of the name Francis, and hence the show and my books and everything else. And here I am looking at all of the chats of people who are watching, a lot of my favorite people popping up, the usual suspects. Good evening, Zantlo, John, Jan, Penny, Stan, Tom, Jan, Mary, Patty, Adam. Welcome. So, tonight I wanted to talk about something that came up in one of the most recent episodes of The Curse of Oak Island. And so every so often I revisit my Oak Island research simply because it keeps coming up. Every time I walk away from the allure of that amazing mystery over there in Nova Scotia, my research ends up pulling me straight back into it, and such is the case this time. Hi, Kat. Good to see you. XO, AO, good to see you. He's saying hi to everyone. And yeah, you know what? We have to say Happy St. Paddy's Day. And in honor of St. Paddy's Day, by the way, spelling St. Paddy that way, P-A-D-D-Y, P-A-D-D-Y apostrophe S, totals the same values as frater in simple reverse and case ciphers. Just a weird little piece of trivia I thought I would share on this St. Paddy's Day, as I'm wearing my St. Paddy's Day workout t-shirt. So, hey, Amy, glad you can make it. Aki, good to see you. Zig, how we doing? So, what I wanted to do is kind of talk about Dr. Gaspani's research as he appeared on the show The Curse of Oak Island. And in honor of St. Paddy's Day, as I go through this presentation, it's not much of a presentation tonight, gang. This is going to be a quick one. This is where I'm just going to kind of throw my hands up and say, I got it wrong. He got it right. Nolan's cross, according to Dr. Gaspani, was put there by the Knights Templar. And so here he was, on the show saying that from 1200 to 1300, there were people who were around who could have actually done this. And here what you see in front of you is my version of Google Earth. And here you see the placement of cones A through E of Nolan's cross. I tend to leave out the headstone simply because it was underground. And from an archaeological perspective, let me put it, there it goes. It pops up right there. Archaeoastronomy requires, placement on the ground. And so to me, I felt that the headstone, was kind of irrelevant. And so for those of you who don't know, Dr. Gaspani has definitively stated that Nolan's cross was placed there at that time. And so, when you look at his information, the quality of his research, you just have to say, you're right. And so, first of all, this is really, really exciting for anyone who is a fan of the show, The Curse of Oak Island. Any people like me who have, researched for this, particular topic, and have gone there and met the folks on the island. This is really exciting stuff. And so what I wanted to do was do a show where I talked about how I got it wrong, first of all. And so what I want to show you tonight is here you see all of the placements of the cones of Nolan's cross. Now, Any of you who are actually Oak Island researchers out there, you probably have experienced the same thing. Recently, Google Earth went through an update, and all of my coordinates have been shifted, several feet north. And so every so often this happens as Google Earth updates, simply because it's not very, very specifically accurate for what we try to use it for in our Oak Island research. So it's important that people recognize that. So you see Cone C is actually out here, out in the bay here a little bit, when in fact it's actually here right on the shore, if you can see where my mouse is. So the coordinates that you plug in kind of shift back and forth depending upon where you are on planet Earth at any given time. So that's why you're seeing that little bit of a discrepancy right there. That cone C is by far the most noticeable one. Now, what I'm going to do is talk about my original placement of a place to search. And it was actually right straight down, if we go down the spine of Nolan's Cross, right this way, at a place I called the Knee of Hercules. And it's right just past here. And this little area where you can see, there's a little bit of construction stuff going on, clearing. So I'm going to zoom in, and then I'm going to fix, reset for the tilt. And there, we're looking straight down. And so, the Knee of Hercules was down in this area, according to my last placement. And here's why. What I did was I was working with the information that I had received from Chris Dona, an archaeoastronomer and good friend. And, he's appeared on the show in the War Room, and he had received some information from a guy named Paul Ronkowski, excuse me. And now Paul claimed that he observed Fred Nolan actually moving two of the cones of Nolan's Cross. Now, he claimed he did it with a skid steer or either skid steer or a bulldozer, but I think he had a skid steer. And the cones that were moved were cone A here and cone B down here. Cone A he had placed much farther to the northeast. Cone B was farther to the north. And this is the screenshot that Paul had sent Chris, and Chris shared with me, of here you see cone A way up here to the northeast, and cone B was actually up here. If we take away the headstone, it no longer looks like a cross, and instead what we have is what I called Nolan's rhomboid, because here you have what looks like a rhomboid feature or shape that when I overlaid the keystone asterism at the center of Hercules constellation, it fit nearly perfectly. And this fit with cone E, fit with one of the stars of Hercules in the leg. And the knee was placed here, and then of course the leg and ankle went down this way. So basically what this means, Dr. Gaspani's work demonstrates that Paul was wrong. Now, how he got that wrong and why, he told Chris this was the case, I don't know. I don't care to speculate. All I know is that when you have a professor using science to basically demonstrate that these boulders are in situ where they should be, I pay attention to the science. And so what that means is that, Paul's information was actually misinformation. And what that also means is that the location of where I placed the Knee of Hercules was also wrong. And so tonight I wanted to basically come forward and state that I was using this misinformation in order to give them the X marks the spot in my war room presentation, a couple of years ago. And so that means, and it was searched, and obviously they drilled down into bedrock. There was nothing there. And I think that's why. So I wanted to make sure that I, talked about this evening, because those of you who have recently or have, supported me and my work by purchasing my book, The Oak Island Treasure Maps, that part is wrong. And so what that means is, obviously I'm going to have to revisit that. And I will be coming out with one more, and only one more, Oak Island book. And it's going to be Oak Island, Nova Scotia, and the case for Sir Francis Bacon, because I have a great deal more of information regarding his interest in this island. So he was there, and what I've recently have uncovered will allow me to dial in and dig down on where the knee of Hercules should be. And I think I've already done that, and I can't wait to share that with all of you. Hey, Jeff, good to see you, my friend. By the way, if you haven't done so, Jeff Freeman and I, we have a lot of the same people, watching our podcasts, and his Oak Island and Skinwalker Ranch podcast is phenomenal. Those of you who have seen it know exactly what I mean. Jeff, you always have great guests and always cover great topics. So I wanted to give you a shout out. Also, oops, didn't want to do that. Where is he? I just saw him pop up here. Hi, Caroline. Just saw your name. Good to see you. Hi, Ray. Stephanie, glad you can make it, my friend. Hold on. Oh, there we are. This guy. Anybody who's been watching the History Channel lately has seen his gorgeous little punim appearing on the screen, as he's going to be presenting his war room theory next week on the Curse of Oak Island. So, John, my friend, congratulations. Can't wait to see what appears on the screen. Can't wait to, see their reaction to your amazing information. And congratulations on your episode. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but my banner is still streaming along here that the show is going to start shortly, and it's already started, and now it's almost over. Let me take care of that. So that's right. That's right, my friend. Edwards is on the show. And gang, I'm not allowed to share any inside baseball, but John's information is off the hook. It's astounding. And I think that this first episode is probably not the last we're going to see from John. And if anything, this is going to be something that is a game changer. So what we have is Professor Gaspani pointing out that the Templars were there. And if they were there, why were they there? I think John's going to provide a part of that answer this next Tuesday here in the States. So it's going to be, Amy, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I say. It's going to be so good. Yeah. So John, kudos to you, my friend. And, you're getting the attention you deserve for sure. And I think that once people see what you've put together, there's going to be a lot of I think the naysayers are not going to have a whole lot to say. Let me put it that way, because I'm very, very impressed by you. You've definitely won me over with my skepticism, and I don't know anyone else. I don't know anyone else who would be able to do that other than you. So good work, my friend. You're very welcome. So there is one last piece that I will add as a little bit of a hint going into my next book and my next Oak Island book to follow. That I have uncovered the link between the Knights Templar and the Fraternity of the Rosy Cross. It's finally come up in my decryptions, the name of the Templars. And like I said, that's all going to be coming out here within the next year. And let me just say that the connection between the two is actually Oak Island itself. And that's all I'm going to kind of share at this moment. And so, that's just it, Jeff. There are certain people that, regardless of what the evidence says, they're going to stick to their guns. They're going to ignore it 100%. And this also was part of the reason why I'm doing this show this evening, is simply because I looked at the evidence and recognized that, I got it wrong. It's that simple. My location, based upon the information I was working with, was incorrect. I made assumptions about Nolan's cross, which, I mean, tonight I meant to turn this into a drinking game every time I said Nolan's cross. I don't know if I mentioned that, but St. Patty's Day, I have to have a beer. So, here's the thing. I looked at that and I saw that Dr. Gaspani is correct. And that means that I can't be. It really is that simple. It comes down to the science. And so I just said, oh, well, I got it wrong. Maybe I need to take another look at this. Since information has been coming up in my most recent research, I said, well, I guess I need to take another look at this. And so that's what I'm doing now. But that's really what it's about, Jeff, is that idea that regardless of how much you think you're right, and I did, and I think every Oak Island researcher, when they uncover something, they realize, oh, I have it dialed in, that you could be wrong. And so, I went into this with eyes wide open, thinking that I believe this is where it is, and I think I'm right. In fact, I know with the majority of my research that I did get it right. But with it all narrows down to that one last point. Unless you have it, as Rick says, unless you're holding it in your hand, it's just a theory. And so, that's where I'm going to leave it, is this idea that part of it, I got it wrong. And so, that's what we do here. Okay, so Amy's got whiskey in the tea. It should be in the jarro, if you ask me, but your tea will work just fine. You know what, Tom, that's exactly it. You guys have seen me do that. And, it led us to the garden shaft. And sure enough, that's where all of the work is being done right now. At the end of the day, you get it right, you get it wrong. But at the end, love to have you in on this conversation, Jeff. I'm still having a hard time with the selection alignments, mostly from the... Well, you know what? That's the thing, Jeff, is that when you're dealing with archaeoastronomy, there are a couple of different ways to do it. One involves just, taking the constellation, the star map, and laying it on the map of the features that are on the ground, right? But you have to do it as a mirror, right? Because it's supposed to be reflecting what's up there in the sky. So that's one way of doing it. By the images we saw from Dr. Gaspani, what he did was he was actually doing the geometry of it, actually pointing to the other stars in the constellation, which I found to be very, very fascinating. And, since he is a professor that studies that sort of thing, I'm very, very interested in how he did that. Yeah, yeah, Jeff. Tom's got it on spot on. Jan, I'm sorry. No, this is a New England IPA, and I just love them. My midline does not, but I love them. Hey, Adam, thanks so much. The keyword there is collaboration, right? I was talking with John this morning, and John, said he blamed me for for this, but in reality, early on, I decided to make all of this open source and saying, hey, everybody, pile on, see what else you can find. And it's that keyword you just use is collaboration, between John, Jason Mercer, Will Russell. The stuff that they're all finding now is just, and Z, you're doing it too. You're behind the scenes. And so in particular, when it comes to, and this is an area that I've kind of ignored, but I really want to pay more attention to, simply because I think it's one of the key factors. And this is Stephanie McPeak Peterson's forte, which is music, and how Bacon used those ideas, that art in particular, in encrypting his. I've ignored it simply because, I've been a musician myself for years, and but when it comes down to it, it's one of those arts that demands so much precise attention that I right now I have all I can do with what's on my plate in front of me. So, you know what, Adam? I don't know. I know that it is misinformation, and Chris, before he passed, he was one of my closest friends, and and he really liked Paul. He really admired him, and he believed everything he said. And so I don't know if Paul had decided to kind of throw a wrench in things for other people, or what he was doing, or why he claimed that those stones had been moved. But I know from after Professor Gaspani's information came out, along with my conversations with members of the fellowship, it's one of those things where I just had to admit that I got it wrong. I don't want to try to put a motivation on Paul's information. Was it disinformation? Did he just get it wrong? Did he see Fred moving things and just assumed it was? I don't know. I really don't know. I wish I had the answer to that. I would love, if Paul was still alive, I would love to sit down and have a convo with him for sure. Yeah, Jeff, that's the concept of archaeoastronomy, the whole idea of as above, so below. We have, Jeff, you say this all the time, but we have the best viewers and listeners in the world. They're just such well-informed people. Ao, you're far too kind. In bringing up Stephen Hawking in reference to my mistake, but I'm definitely not considered a genius, but Hawking is for sure. He did get it wrong. Oh, thanks for chiming in, Z. There's so much information. Each piece takes time to reconstruct, and that's just it. And this is why I do this show. I want people to understand what I do. Elizabeth and William Friedman. William Friedman was the godfather of the modern NSA, National Security Agency, here in the United States, and their job is to crack codes. They were, the married couple who for all intents and purposes, won World Wars One and Two for the Allies by cracking the enemy's codes. And so these people were just brilliant. And one of the things that they always referred to was that they referred to cipher as the bedrock of evidence. And the reason being is that if it's worth keeping secret and encoding, then it must be true, right? So we're looking for truth. And provided, unlike a lot of the people who were involved in Baconian cipher cracking, provided you use scientific principles in doing it, that's when you learn the truth. And that's what I've been doing. That's why my information is different than the rest of the Sir Francis Bacon Society, and all of the rest. Oh, Jeff. It could be the southern anchor, depending upon its position. If I knew more about that, I probably wouldn't be able to talk about it. But the thing is that depending upon its position, it could be an indicator of that falls in line with a couple of the working theories that have already been presented on the show. It could be one of the steps in the Tree of Life. It could be, one of the Kabbalistic Sephiroth of the Tree of Life. Don't know. Hey, Jason, good to see you, my friend. Ray, I don't understand the quite bird language. Looking at birth in bird's eye view. I'm still trying to understand that. I don't know, Ray. I don't know what your yeah, well, that was that too, PK. I don't really know how to answer that. And there you go. Stephanie would be the one to try to answer that question for you, Ray. Like I said, she's the expert there for sure. Thanks, Steph. Oh, and Amy has a different take on it, more from the spiritual realm. The presence of different birds represents different messages from spirit to us. Different birds also migrate to different areas at key times. Mentioning then can be coded language for being in. Oh, that's a good thought too. Yeah, I know in symbolism, a bird, particularly a bird call, a bird usually represents the idea of spirit, a human spirit. Yeah, John. There was the disinformation campaign in relation to Bacon's code by the Freedmans, 100%. On the one hand, they knew that all of this stuff was coded, and yet they still tried to debunk, if you will, much of the work that was done in the decryptions at the turn of the century. Now, the problem is that the Baconians gave them so much ammunition, right? I mean, the Owen cipher wheel nonsense, please, it's just laughable. And so when you have people like that, and then all of a sudden you have a couple of people who actually found a legitimate cipher, they take the good and toss it out with the bad and say, oh, it's all nonsense. And that's exactly what we saw the Freedmans do in their debunking of the Baconian ciphers in Shakespeare. And again, not really sure why they did that, especially when they were such fans of Bacon. And a lot of people don't know that. Oh, thanks, Z. Yep. Bird language was used by the troubadours. Very cool. Cool stuff. All right, gang. Like I said, this was going to be a quick one tonight, but I really wanted to, like I said, publicly say, this new information as it comes out. We have to follow the science. We have to, keep looking at this with a critical eye, and not plant our flag on a hill that is made of sand in particular. And so that's why I wanted to say, listen, my knee of Hercules location. Now I have to say, no, it's wrong. But luckily, because of this new information, I'm going to be able to recalculate things and recalibrate things, and hopefully get it right this time. Thanks, Tom. You're a gentleman, scholar, and a friend. Wouldn't worry about after 229 years, you're in a select group. If it is only just one, oh, trust me, buddy, I've made more than just one. I made one in this decryption process, but as far as the rest of my life, oh boy. And Aki, great stuff. For a man may wander in the way by rounding up and down, but if men have failed in their very direction and address that error, will never by good fortune correct itself. Francis Bacon. Great quote, buddy. Well, there's supposed to be two knees, aren't there, Z? Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Thanks, Penny. I appreciate you, my sister. All right, so listen, gang, I'm going to wrap it up here. And so thanks for tuning in for this half-hour episode, as such as it was. But like I said, I really, when I watched that episode of The Curse of Oak Island, first thing that occurred to me was my next Ghosts of Bacon episode has to be about that, and kind of clear that up. So like I said, those of you who have my Oak Island Treasure Maps book, that one piece of information, even though it seems good, based on faulty info. So want to give a shout out. Oh, Soltron, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Yep. That's true. All right, gang. Once again, thank you for joining me this evening. Always a pleasure to see all your comments, your names, your faces. And until next time, I'll catch up with you later.